You have to build trust. You have to be consistent. You have to always show up being the same organization with the same values. That's not a challenge to us, but you that can only be built over time. And so, we consistently are who we've always been, will be who we always are now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Grow Healthy, Help People, a podcast that Accordis puts on. We love talking to our nonprofit leaders. I am here today with Diane from Impartial. How are you today, Diane?
I'm doing great. So nice to see you.
Good to see you. So tell everybody, where are you calling in from?
I am calling from the Raleigh, North Carolina area.
Okay, wonderful. So let's get into, before we really talk about what you guys do over at Impartial, I want you to tell me a little bit about how you got into the nonprofit space. Were you always expecting to be a nonprofit leader, or what's the story behind it all?
No, this was a complete unknown to me. Nonprofit was something I admired, but never had any kind of real career plans to get in this space. My intentions from early on, as young as 12 years old or so, I really loved the idea of business and investing and things of this nature. So that's where my education and my experience began.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think most nonprofit leaders going into it never saw themselves in that space and until they got there. So tell me a little bit about Impartial, what you guys do and how you came up with it. What sparked this in you to do this?
Well, it's a rather long story, but to try to shorten it up for the purposes of this viewing, I would say I was prosecuted for a crime that I did not commit by working for an investment company. And I was so completely dumbfounded by what our criminal justice system is or was, and just navigating it and trying to get the truth out and trying to get people to pay attention and trying to present as much evidence as I possibly could, and still behave your way through it, because honestly, parts of it, when people wouldn't listen or they just didn't seem to really care. It really made me pause even through the whole process, which was 6.5 years of a prosecution. And I didn't go to prison, but I went through a lot of experiences within the system firsthand to understand what they are. And I thought, for someone that was as resourced and educated as I was, to have as much difficulty in telling the truth, even through the process, I really sat on that quite often and just said, how would anybody else do this without, I mean, I should be able to do this based on, again, being educated, being resourced, being determined, having the truth on my side. It should work out, it should go the right way because of having all those things in your favor. But if it couldn't for me, I just thought, what chance does everybody else have that doesn't have that? And so, after I got through the other side of what I behaved my way through, I really couldn't put it down. I had to dig in and wonder, how I could make a difference, and whether that was joining people who are already doing good work in this space, or whether it was creating something on my own. I just needed to dig into it. So what I did, and looking back on it, I don't really know how I knew to do this, but it was just pure passion and curiosity as to what I had just gone through. I actually even ended up at the Supreme Court because I was part of an organization that I had joined that visited the Supreme Court, and I got to meet Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I got to meet Sonia Sotomayor. I listened to women that were the embodiment of justice and who I respected in just a tremendous way. And I wanted to consume as much as I possibly could to understand why our system was the way it was. And after I got done with all that, I continued to reflect on that. And then I looked around for nonprofits that were doing what I felt like was important work in with the vision that I had, and I didn't see it. I didn't see the vision that I had in other nonprofits. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a tremendous amount of just incredible work that's being done, but they didn't have the vision that I had in particular. So that's why I have felt really uniquely qualified to do this work.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. Everything that you went through to starting what you're doing now and helping people that are in the same position that you were in at one time, possibly, and not having the resources to help people listen to them. I think it's incredible that you're doing this. And I know that people are so grateful for it that are being, wrongly put into the system. And so, tell me a little bit about the programs that you have for the ones that you work with.
Well, let me just take a step back too, because I hear what you're saying, and I always like to try to get as much clarity around what our mission actually is as possible, because we take a holistic approach towards the criminal justice reform in general. So we want to be able to help everybody that we can, not just people that maybe went through a similar experience to what I was going through, but also just to be able to straighten the road where things have just gone off in a direction that really doesn't resonate with justice. And, and honestly, I'm aligning, or Impartial is aligning as much as possible with future justice leaders because it's going to be their system. And we need to teach them what it is, and we need to appreciate their point of view as to how they feel like the system will serve them best, as they move along over the years. And so, yeah, that's a lot of what we do. So we work with a lot of law students, and we work with advocates in general. The main criteria for people that I really love to be able to work with is just a mindset of, that we can do something different.
Yeah.
The status quo
Yeah.
is real where we have to stay. So I apologize. I'm kind of answering a slightly
No,
different.
I love that. No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
But I started doing this work and just felt like, okay, where do you even begin with something that feels like it's never been done before? And that was a real puzzle to me, one that was both daunting and exciting at the same time. And so I was fortunate to, again, through just a lot of inquiries, keep talking to as many people as possible. And when I say keep talking, I ask a question and then I just shut up and listen because they know a lot more than I do about what they've known and what they've learned, and I need to learn from them. So one of the connections that I made was actually someone who had been in prison who had seen artwork in prison and just marveled at the ingenuity, the creativity, and the amazing things that artwork does for people in prison because it creates a new identity for them so that 95% of people get out of prison. If you have an identity as an artist as opposed to someone who is an inmate, that can oftentimes help be a separator for them to kind of pick up and move on. And so art also was just a therapeutic device, so to speak, for the limited resources that they have. If they pour themselves into the artwork, oftentimes the trauma that they have of just being there or of things that occurred before they arrived there can help to kind of distill some of the pieces of that, and they can start to work through it. So when they get out, hopefully, they'll appreciate starting new and being able to be given another chance. And that's our role too, is making sure that they actually have that.
Yes. And you've been sent tons of artwork,
I have.
right?
You start to look
Yes, it is amazing to me. It is so incredible what they can do and the
Mhm.
skill that they have and that they're able to focus and pour into it and have something to give them life, at the
Yeah.
time. And it's just incredible to me. I love that whole project. I love it. The whole program.
Well, it's really interesting because we have over 2,000 pieces now. We work with over 350 artists. We continue to grow the program. What's so intriguing too, and if you look on our LinkedIn, recently we had one of our volunteers just to give his insight into some of the pieces that he and I have been working with and what he observes on it. So here is a young person, a college age student that is very interested in picking apart the pieces of what he sees in a particular piece of artwork and kind of wondering what the artist thought when the artist was making it, and then as a viewer, what does he read into it, and what are his questions around what's going on in the art. I mean, it's really quite thought-provoking. And then when you multiply that by 2,000 pieces, you start to understand the vastness of the program and the impact that it has on people that view it. What artwork does very uniquely is open conversations. And I didn't know that when I started, but I am so appreciative of that because that is what happens. People start to talk about the art, about the artist, about the system. And when you have that, the dialogue moves on from there to other initiatives. Now, I will mention that we are just on the precipice of launching a new phase of another program, which I can't just show you like I do the artwork, but it is a criminal justice video game series. We have just completed, literally as of today, that today is the final day of of a 9 game series, and it's based on my own prosecution. I have sliced and diced, yeah, I sliced and diced my own prosecution into, I call it from soup to nuts here, from investigation to post verdict, everything in between, all the twists and turns that took place, so that again, the next generation can have some experiential type of learning activity where they can see how choices are made and the far-reaching effects of some of those choices by playing the game. And so it's just a story that you can decide how the path might be one time and go back and play it differently another and see where you end up.
Yeah,
But hopefully it helps in them learning the process, learning the terminology. And I hope there's a little fun in there. We can't have a
absolutely.
lot of levity necessarily in such a serious subject,
Right.
but there are some things in there that, will make you pause, I think, as well. But
And
that
really
is
think.
being wrapped up today. And
So
then,
is your goal with that to partner with law students all over and different colleges to hopefully help encourage them to use the gaming system?
yes, in a real general sense, I will say yes. How exactly that's going to take place, I think is still being determined. Our focus has been on building it, and now we'll focus on testing it and being able to protect it as well. And then, we're anxious really for people to get the benefit from this. And so the games are the experiential learning, the artwork, is an invitation to conversations. And then lastly, in the next couple of months, we'll be starting to launch our community. And that's really going to be the hub of Impartial. It will be the foundational piece of, an ecosystem that's being created where in the future, the community will be able to come up with additional programs about things that will help increase the probability of justice. And so, as the name says, we are impartial. We're not here taking a position necessarily on anything related to criminal justice. What we're taking very seriously is just helping students and advocates to be able to work efficiently, effectively, enjoyably on making an impact in the system, but also it makes an impact in them too. The next generation is not viewing things the way that mine did at all. Working on something that they feel strongly about is very much towards the top of their list on how they want to spend their time. They want to make an impact in something that has real purpose. And this is definitely a place where that can be done. And I think that the swell of the community will start to, um, really make things happen, and people will start to take notice because you don't have to do a lot. You have to be consistent and you have to work together.
Right, absolutely. So when you say community, when you're talking about community, is your goal to focus on your area specifically, building up a community in your area, or are you hoping to build up an area all over?
Oh, all over,
Yeah.
because there's, approximately 200 law schools in the United States, and they are our future justice leaders are being created in that space. They have ideas that we need to hear. There's wisdom that's already in the community, basically, but you have to take what exists and you have to appreciate what's coming along. You have to figure out how to work together. And that's where I feel like we can do that in the community. We can do that together. It just needs to be structured. It needs to be efficient and effective. It needs to be where, if this is who you are when you self-enroll into the community and you understand what we're trying to do, that you show up and you feel like you belong.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's wonderful. So tell me, as you've started this and now that you've created all these amazing creative programs, which I love, I think the creativity that you have brought into the nonprofit space is absolutely incredible, through art, through gaming. I love the way that you are pursuing different avenues. Tell me what challenges you face the most. What are your biggest challenges in having nonprofit, running a nonprofit, as specifically the one that you have?
Oh, I would say that the challenge is, there's nothing to be able to shortcut being able to, you have to build trust. You have to be consistent. You have to always show up being the same organization with the same values. That's not a challenge to us, but that can only be built over time. And so, we consistently are who we've always been, will be who we always are now. Different programs could come and go depending upon various factors, but who we are at our essence will not change. But being able to reach people that are like-minded and have them experience that, because that's what they really trust more than anything, is experiencing it. You can tell them things, you can have all the fancy words and so forth, but until they actually start to get involved and make an impact and understand who we are, then the challenge is just to be able to convey that in a way that's meaningful to them so that they step into it. you know so that just takes time, and I embrace that challenge because I know that we have been consistent. I know that we will be consistent, but more resources come with more people, and that's a challenge for any nonprofit always. And so I'm fine with that. I know that we're just going to be who we are today, tomorrow, and in the future. The company might evolve and look different, but the mission will stay very grounded. But as we have the trust and experience with people in the community, then that's somewhat of a challenge now because we're new.
Yeah,
But in time,
over
that will work
time.
itself out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're watching, if you're a nonprofit leader, that is definitely something that a Cordis can step in and help with. We recognize that nonprofits need to remain consistent in their vision and their mission, especially for those who are following them and wanting to connect with them and support them. And we can step in and help bring that vision and mission to life through social media, through your website, through your marketing. And we would love to step in and help support you and what you're doing. There will be a link at the end of the podcast if you are interested in what we do on the back end. We would love to serve you. But coming back to you, Diane, um, tell me what your vision, if you're looking ahead into the future, 5 years from now, because you already have so many amazing ideas. Are you thinking way ahead to, like, this is what you want to see happening in 5, 10 years with Impartial?
Yeah, I mean, my vision really is that it's an ecosystem, and the community itself begins to feed the programs in that are going to be most meaningful to both the nonprofits that we want to be able to lift up and serve, and other law students and advocates and so forth. Everybody can be impacted if we just learn to collaborate together and have a good path to be on. It's interesting because AI is such a very, very significant part of all of our lives right now, and I just feel like, yes, use AI as the best tool possible, um, to be able to help with the things that are best suited for that space. But the humanity of what we are doing, because if you look on our website, you'll see, this is about criminal justice humanity. And I think that somehow, whether it's the laws or AI or just data in general, you can forget about the fact that the criminal justice system is about people. It's people every day. And we the people started the criminal justice system, and we the people can reshape it to be more aligned with the values that we have. And so that'll be a consistent struggle because we are taking the collective wisdom of the community and plugging it into programs, but it's always got to align with the mission that this is going to somehow increase the probability that justice will be better served.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of room for additional programs. I have three or four up my sleeve right now,
Yeah. I don't
and
doubt it. I
but
don't know.
I want to do things well, not quick. And so that's why
Right.
we've taken our time to, for the last few years, we've been working in the artwork, we've been working in the
Mhm.
video games, and now we're at a point where we can really offer them more meaningfully very soon. And then we can kind of turn it to the community to continue with additional programs. And that'll be exciting to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So as as I'm getting ready to close this out, can you tell everybody the best way? So it's easy for, if you're a law student to get connected to with you because they're passionate, they're trying to find a way to get involved. But what about other people? How can other people get involved, support you? What can they do for you?
Yeah, I think the best way is, we want you to basically self-enroll in what the mission is. If you read it and you feel like, wow, that sounds like me, that sounds like who I am, then we'd love to hear from you. There's a contact us page on the website. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you're interested in. Let's see how we can figure out how to plug you into something that's mutually beneficial and meaningful. The community is going to be launching over the summer and it's going to be very carefully launched. And so we'd love for, again, like-minded people in that space to be able to be a part of that. So if you use the contact us and say, I'm interested in being put on the waiting list for the community, that would be great. We have a newsletter that you can sign up for there as well. The newsletter will help to be able to keep you informed about, like, for example, when are the video games going to be available, or when is there going to be an artwork auction, or things of this nature. So, by just using the contact us, we can put you in the queue for as things become available. We'd certainly like for you all to, come around us. And again, like-minded people is who we want to have to make this all successful for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you are interested in learning more, if you have a passion in the criminal justice system and wanting to learn more and how you can help at Impartial, how you can be a part of the community, we're going to have a link to their website at the end of this episode. And we would love for you to go check it out. What they are doing is absolutely incredible and amazing over there. And I know they would love to have your support. Diane, I have loved talking to you today and learning more about what you guys are doing at Impartial. Thank you for being on here.
It's been lovely. I really appreciate the opportunity to share our work. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. All right, guys. We'll see you next time, and everybody have a great day.